All right, fans, welcome back to the third and final hour of RWL Hotter Than July in Phoenix, Arizona. And the whole crew is here and standing by for the last four matches of tonight's 3-hour supercard.
And rejoining is for our three, fresh off a big win and a hot shower, Snarl GM Tex Lynch. Congratulations on the big win with money incorporated beat over the Sectarians tonight. We knew you could do it, but had no idea how fired up you were out there.
Hey, Wally, that's all right. I didn't even really work up a sweat. But up next, the Snarl Television Championship on the line with Josef von Schmidt challenging Tibor Belescu for the belt.
The following match, one fall with a 15-minute time limit, is for the RWL Snarl Television Championship.
It can't be denied that Tibor Belescu has enjoyed quite a great deal of success as Snarl Television Champion, but that might very well be coming to an end this evening against the larger, heavier, and slightly more devious Josef von Schmidt. Well, that might be true. You gotta give Tibor Belescu full marks for courage. He took this match sight unseen. He said, no problem. I don't care how big Josef von Schmidt is. I'm gonna take him down.
Yep, gotta admire Tibor Belescu's guts, but that might be easier said than done, Myron.
Von Schmidt has gone a very long time without championship gold, and to a guy who's been a multi-time champion, having held several key titles, including the World Heavyweight Championship. A dry spell this long is just intolerable, so look for Von Schmidt to put a little extra determination behind this match. Belescu's actually pretty small next to the German super soldier, so this is one David versus Goliath kind of match that Belescu may not be able to circumvent.
And in the trivia department, it's a question as to why Josef von Schmidt left his motorcycle behind this evening, opting to walk down the ringside for this particular matchup.
I can answer that one, Dandy Don. It's the climate change nuts. They say, the emissions from the motorcycle. It's not a good thing. I'm like, oh man, what do you want them to do? Come down on an electric scooter? Doesn't have quite the same impact, does it?
You know, the first 2 hours, it just wasn't the same without you, Tex.
Belescu to the rescue.
Quite true, Mr. Lynch. You are recognized as the life of the party around here.
Well, yeah, you know, the impersonations and all that stuff.
I can't help that. The only two impersonations I can do are Don Pardo and John Wayne.
Light heavyweight champion Sir Reggie Smythe joining his Team Eurotag partner Belescu at ringside for this match. And if Belescu is walking the last mile here tonight, he's doing it without a care or worry in the world. He's 200 pounds of muscle, almost no body fat, packed onto a 5'8" frame. And his strength is pretty astounding, and it might be the only thing that saves him. And the Snarl TV belt in this match.
In Belescu's last matchup, he joined forces with Rage Television champion T-Dog Tomasio, and they unfortunately lost that match. I'm sure that is weighing on the mind of Belescu, going up against Josef von Schmidt in this one.
Introducing first the challenger from Dresden, Germany, weighing 276 pounds, Josef von Schmidt. His opponent accompanied at ringside by light heavyweight champion Sir Reggie Smythe from Budapest, Hungary, weighing 200 pounds, the RWL Snarl Television champion, the Hungarian Hurricane, Tibor Belescu.
Well, if Josef von Schmidt can defeat Tibor Belescu, this would be his third run with the RWL Snarl Television Championship, a title he's totally familiar with and would love to have back. Josef von Schmidt with a huge opportunity here, and he knows it. Tibor Bolescu could be in jeopardy. As Walt Rothburn sounds the bell, Bolescu charges, jumping neckbreaker, takes Von Schmidt down to the mat. Followed up with a series of stomps to the chest of Josef Von Schmidt. The German super soldier takes Bolescu down with a leg sweep, gets a hold of him for a bear hug, but a headbutt says, oh no you don't. Bolescu, look at this, rounds up Von Schmidt into a fall-away slam. Beautifully executed. The Hungarian Hurricane taken down by Josef Von Schmidt. Von Schmidt charges a shoulder tackle that barely finds the mark. Bolescu whips him over the top rope and out onto the apron, but Von Schmidt counters with a quick left, makes his way back inside the ring. Tibor Bolescu has him up. Von Schmidt counters again with a knee to the head. Tags Bolescu with a right. Hard Irish whip to the ropes. Tibor Bolescu goes up and goes down in a spine buster. Look at the size of Josef Von Schmidt in comparison to Tibor Bolescu. Von Schmidt all the way up on the top turnbuckle as Bolescu stands himself up. And here we go, shoulder tackle. Takes Bolescu down to the mat. Tibor Bolescu catches a knee to the leg from Josef Von Schmidt. Von Schmidt delivers another. And Tibor Bolescu is starting to lose control of this one. Von Schmidt rounds him up by his throat and hurls him halfway across the ring. Von Schmidt gathers him up again into a bear hug. Could be a submission. Walt Rothburn checking it out. Bolescu struggling to get free here. Tags Josef Von Schmidt with a couple of elbows and a double ear clap and extricates himself from that situation. Von Schmidt whips Bolescu to the ropes again. Another elbow takes him down to the mat. Tibor Bolescu rounded up by Josef Von Schmidt into another bear hug center ring with nowhere for Bolescu to go. Bolescu in trouble here, but again delivers a series of elbows to the side of Von Schmidt's head, another double ear clap, and frees himself. A clothesline quickly takes Von Schmidt down. He rolls to the outside and says, hey, wait a minute. Von Schmidt a little bit tentative about getting back in the ring. Bolescu goes out after him. Bolescu with a beautiful counter gets a hold of Von Schmidt, gathers him up over the shoulder, and slams him down on the floor hard. A series of stomps to the chest again from Tibor Bolescu. The Hungarian Hurricane really starting to unload on Josef Von Schmidt. The Snarl Television title hanging in the balance in this one. Tibor Bolescu still working on Von Schmidt on the outside as the referee continues to count. Tags Von Schmidt with a discus punch and down he goes. Von Schmidt rounded up again. The ref trying to get him back in the ring. Von Schmidt rolled inside. Here comes Tibor Bolescu right after him. Von Schmidt making his way to a standing position, catches a right from Bolescu, delivers a knee to the midsection. Bolescu counters with a double ear clap again, swings and misses with a right. Up over the shoulders goes Von Schmidt again. Bolescu has him up, snake eyes right across the top turnbuckle, right in front of Sir Reggie Smythe, his tag team partner. Bolescu with a series of machine gun kicks to the midsection of Von Schmidt. Bolescu covers, hooks the leg. 1, 2, but barely just a 2. Von Schmidt finds his way out of the pin. Bolescu waiting right there for him, locks him up again. Has him up over the shoulder one more time. Where's he going to put him down? Boom! Slams him down with authority. And again starts to unload with hard right hands on the head of Josef Von Schmidt. Bolescu gathers the German super soldier up again, and boom, another discus punch. Von Schmidt taking a lot of punishment now as the tide has definitely turned. Bolescu gets a hold of him from behind. Look at this, wheelbarrow slam face first into the canvas. Bolescu, one arm chokeslam, beautifully executed. The powerful Tibor Bolescu performing admirably here so far. Bolescu waiting for Von Schmidt to stand himself up, misses with a right. Von Schmidt tags him with a right, gets a hold of him. Bolescu drives a knee into the midsection. Von Schmidt whipped to the ropes, a big boot to the face for Josef Von Schmidt. Tibor Bolescu and Von Schmidt both on the outside now. Bolescu making a beeline for Von Schmidt, gets a hold of him, has him up in a front cradle. Von Schmidt counters with a couple of elbows, gets himself loose from that spot. Bolescu caught up in a front cradle himself by Von Schmidt, and Bolescu counters it into a DDT, slamming Von Schmidt face first into the floor. Josef Von Schmidt rolled back inside the ring by Bolescu. Bolescu makes his way to the top turnbuckle. Boom! There's an elbow right across the back. Tibor Bolescu rolls Von Schmidt over, covers and hooks the leg. 1, 2, and 3. Tibor Bolescu retaining the Snarl Television Championship by pinfall.
The time of the fall, 5 minutes, 11 seconds, your winner, and still our WL Snarl Television Champion, Tibor Bolescu.
Hey man, they don't call him the Hungarian Hurricane for nothing. Tibor Bolescu blew in here and blew away Josef Von Schmidt to retain the Snarl Television Championship, and he was just, oh man, super aggressive tonight. A great display of strength, a great display of power, and a terrific win for Tibor Bolescu. And folks, we'll be right back with more RWL Hotter Than July right after this brief intermission. All right, up next on HTJ, the Women's World Championship on the line as Virginia Austin once again challenges the Queen Dynamite Jeannie Parker, the 7-year wonder, for the Women's World title.
The next match, one fall with a 15-minute time limit, is for the RWL Women's World Championship.
Ooh, guys. This one's bound to get heated. Virginia Austin and Jeannie Parker already have a pretty nasty history from Austin's days with the Bell Council. Their last match for the championship was well over a year ago, but they've clashed 3 times before this. 2 of those were for the championship, and Jeannie left Virginia in the dust every single time.
I most remember their title match 2 years ago when Jeannie Parker retained the title over Virginia Austin and post-match strangled Virginia Austin in a fit of absolute rage, a complete loss of professional cool, something we never ever see from the sexy soul sister of the Square Circle.
If Virginia pulls off an upset tonight, it'll be a miracle. Yeah, it would take a big-time talking cow miracle for Virginia Austin to defeat Jeannie Parker. But if it happens, it's gonna be insane.
And here she is, the very peak, the azimuth of the women's division, the Women's World Champion and 1/3 of the Ladies Tag Trio Champions, the Queen Dynamite Jeannie Parker, the sexy soul sister of the Square Circle.
7 straight undefeated years in championship matches. We've never seen the like of Jeannie Dynamite. And yeah, sure, the chance of an upset is always there, but I don't see that happening tonight. Not with vivacious Virginia Austin, sitting at 0-3 in the books against the Women's World Champion. Austin is known for her strength, her leg drop is borderline lethal, and of course her finisher, the Long Goodnight, has taken down several opponents in the past. And oh baby, does she despise Jeannie as much as Jeannie Parker despises her.
We've had a lot of history made in RWL over the years, and if Virginia Austin could pull off an upset win and become the new Women's World Champion, well, it would just shake the foundations of absolutely everything. And that is what it's all about, the Women's World Championship. Nobody's been able to get it away from Jeannie Parker. Let's see if Virginia Austin can do it.
Introducing first the challenger from Brisbane, Australia. Here's vivacious Virginia Austin. And her opponent from Richmond, Virginia. She's the RWL Women's World Champion, the Queen Dynamite, Jeannie Parker.
When you've been Women's World Champion for 7 years, all eyes are on you whenever you hand that championship over to the referee for the opponent's inspection, as is happening right now with Charles Lacerra, as he takes the belt over to Virginia Austin for her examination. Oh, this is going to be insane.
All the armchair experts have pointed out that Virginia Austin was defeated by Jeannie Parker once before. No reason to think it might not happen again tonight as the referee sounds the bell. Jeannie charges, misses with her move, catches a stomp to the leg from Virginia Austin, followed up by a second. Virginia Austin quickly shoved away by Jeannie Dynamite, quickly back up on her feet. Jeannie Parker with a facebuster on Virginia Austin. Gathering Austin back up, but Austin countered with a headbutt. Well, now how about that? Virginia Austin with a hard right, spins Parker around, goes behind, rakes the back. Goes behind again, pitches her towards the far corner. Virginia Austin setting up Jeannie Parker in the tree of woe here, and delivers a kick to the chest and a boot to the throat of the women's world champion. Austin covers, hooks the leg, one, but only a one. Jeannie Parker, still with way too much fight left in her, stands back up. Virginia Austin slams her face first into the canvas. Virginia Austin rounds up Jeannie Parker. A kick to the midsection from Austin. They lock up. Jeannie, with the upper hand, whips Austin towards the ropes. A drop toe hold from Jeannie Dynamite. Jeannie flips her around, delivers a kick to the leg of Virginia Austin. Austin gathered up to a standing position. A hard right, spins her around, and here's a Russian leg sweep from the women's world champion and into a submission. Whoa, stretch it. Virginia Austin, for all she's worth. Austin fighting the leg, trying to get herself loose. Delivers a couple of shots to the head of Dynamite. Jeannie Parker finally gets herself extricated from that position. Austin catches another right that spins her around. She counters with an elbow, charges right into the arms of Jeannie Parker and slammed down with a knee breaker. Austin laid out. Here's a cover. 1, 2. A near fall for the women's world champion with the women's world title on the line. Virginia Austin counters with a kick, back up on her feet, gets a hold of Jeannie Parker, whips her to the ropes. High hip toss from Virginia Austin. Jeannie steps to the outside. Austin going out right after her. Jeannie Parker says, no, we're not doing that, and gets her back inside the ring. Jeannie back inside herself, moves in, misses with the move, catches another stomp to the leg. Virginia Austin with a kick to the back of the women's world champion. Jeannie Parker counters with a hard right to the midsection, gets a hold of Virginia Austin, takes her towards the ropes, sets her up, delivers a kick to the leg. And look at this, pitches her to the outside floor. Oh, man, Jeannie Parker warming it up here. Here we go. She charges through. Oh, baseball slide right to the face of Virginia Austin. Austin gathered up, slammed face first into the floor by Jeannie Dynamite. Immediately going to work on Virginia Austin on the outside. There's a low drop kick to the back of the head of Virginia Austin. Jeannie Parker gathers her up again, hurls her towards the barricades near the corner. Parker gathers her up one more time, moves in. Virginia Austin counters with a kick to the midsection. Virginia Austin trying to make her way back. Whoa, look at this. From behind, trying to choke out the women's world champion. Jeannie Parker quickly back up on her feet. Gets a hold of her. Whoa. Virginia Austin with a slap across the face, a kick to the midsection, and a DDT as the referee continues to count both ladies. Austin rounds up Jeannie Parker, a knee right to the head of the women's world champ. Dynamite Jeannie Parker gathered up by Virginia Austin. A couple of rights backs Jeannie Parker up. Austin gets a hold of her again, a shot to the back of the head, and a facebuster on the outside as Virginia Austin starts to shift the momentum in her favor. Virginia Austin grinding the face of Jeannie Parker into the floor. Oh, an elbow drop across the back. Virginia Austin gathers her up again. A kick, another, and a hard right backs Jeannie up a few steps. Virginia Austin drives her into the barricade. Virginia drives her head into the... Oh, man. Jeannie counters with a knee, hurls her into the barricade herself. Jeannie Parker rounds her, drives Virginia Austin into the barricade extra hard here. A hard kick to the midsection, a hard stomp to the back. Jeannie Parker definitely does not like Virginia Austin. Whoa, a rolling senton from Parker. Jeannie Dynamite rounds her up again. A Hurricane Rana that leaves Austin laid out. Austin rounded up once more by Jeannie Parker. Jeannie slams her head to the floor. Rounds her up one more time here. Locks her up. A series of wrist clutch elbows to the side of the head of Virginia Austin. And down she goes. Jeannie Parker quickly making her way back in. Time is running out for Virginia Austin here. And that is it. Jeannie Parker retaining the title in a win by countout.
Ladies and gentlemen, at 4 minutes 59 seconds, referee Charles Lacerra has counted out Virginia Austin, your winner by way of a count out, and still our WL Women's World Champion, Dynamite Jeannie Parker.
And hey, for you statisticians in the house, this is one of the few times Jeannie Parker's ever won a match by countout. They're usually pinfalls or submissions, but she just beat the tar out of Virginia Austin and just waited for the referee to count her out. Wow.
We'll be right back with more Hotter Than July right after these brief messages.
Up next, the RWL Undisputed World Tag Team titles up for grabs with Sweet Stan Lane and beautiful Bobby Eaton, the Midnight Express, challenging John Van and Guy Cormier, the Originals.
These two teams last met at Rage in November of 2023 with the Originals picking up a submission win. Only this time it's different. This time it's for the belts.
And, like the amazing Jeannie Parker, the Originals haven't lost a title match in years.
Stan Lane, Bobby Eaton, the Original Midnight Express, accompanied to ringside by manager James E. Cornette, and Corny was talking his head off backstage earlier, practically guaranteeing that we were going to see the Undisputed World Tag Team Championships changing hands tonight. So the question is, what does Corny know that we don't?
Nothing that we don't know, Wally. Just like that last match in 2023, the Midnight are gonna fight dirty, same as last time. And if Cornette feels the need to involve himself in things, he's never shy about doing it. But again, they're going up against the single, winning his tag team in the almost 30-year history of this promotion. Can't say I really like the Midnight's odds here.
Well, don't tell Cornette. It looks like he's having way too much fun, and I'd hate to ruin it for him. Nonetheless, we can't ignore the long and successful history of Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton, the Midnight Express, under the guidance of James E. Cornette.
Well, maybe I'm a little partial, but we also can't ignore the even bigger success of the Originals under the guidance of my boo, Sylvia Strong.
And here they come now, the Undisputed World Tag Team Champions John Van and Guy Cormier, accompanied by Sylvia Strong, as you point out. And it's always a party atmosphere when the Originals come to town.
Totally a party atmosphere, Don. I love this entrance. Kind of reminds me of the intro to Saturday Night Live. Hey, you said you do it good, Don Pardo? Come on, that'd be a good time.
Heck, I couldn't possibly. I'm not an extrovert like you.
All right, well, it was worth a try.
Wow, would you just look at her? The way she moves, that electric personality. That woman just oozes sexy out of every pore.
Johnny, would you please put your tongue back inside your head?
John and Guy, they started as singles wrestlers way the hell back in 2012, until straight random chance brought them and Sylvia together, and it's been a rocket sled on greased rails to the top ever since. Starting with the now retired RWL Northern Tag Team's titles, which they held for several years. They've been crowned as tag team champs no less than 4 times, with this current run as undisputed tag champs, now stretching into its 5th year, and the boys, they're not showing any signs of slowing down.
13 years with the company, 10 of those spent as tag team champions in one form or another. The success of the Originals, along with Sylvia Strong, is absolutely undeniable.
So could the Midnight Express pull off an upset? Well, maybe, but I sincerely doubt it. I don't see that happening.
It's the Undisputed World Tag Team Championship match, starring manager Sylvia Strong and the Undisputed World Tag Team Champions John Van, Guy Cormier, the Originals.
Now you're cooking with plutonium, Don.
I spent the last minute and a half working up my nerve to get that one in.
The next match, one fall with a 20-minute time limit, is for the RWL Undisputed World Tag Team Championships. Introducing first the challengers, accompanied by James E. Cornette, and at a combined weight of 492 pounds, Sweet Stan Lane, and beautiful Bobby Eaton, the Midnight Express. And their opponents, accompanied by Sylvia Strong, at a combined weight of 520 pounds, the Undisputed World Tag Team Champions, the Chicago Hammer John Van, and Crippler Guy Cormier, the Originals.
Well, now, the crowd here in Phoenix definitely primed for this undisputed World Tag Team Championship matchup as John and Guy hand the titles over to referee Walt Rothburn. Oh, this is gonna be a wild one for sure.
All right, with sides chosen up, look like it's going to be Bobby Eaton and John Van initiating contact in this tag team title matchup as Walt Rothburn sounds the bell. John Van moves in, catches a kick from Eaton, delivers a kick to Eaton. A running knee right to the head of Bobby Eaton. John Van driving the knee into the leg of Bobby Eaton. John rounds him up by the wrist. A series of kicks, a kick to the face, takes him down, and now starts setting up, winding up the arms of Bobby Eaton. John Van with a couple of knees into the back, moves right back in right away. Eaton back up on his feet, catches a hard right from John Van from behind. Look at this, a sleeper hold almost immediately, but quickly countered with a jawbreaker. Eaton back up on his feet, locks up Van, whips him over the top rope out on the apron, delivers a right. Oh, look at this. Stan Lane inadvertently hitting his own partner, and that did not run to plan. John Van tried to be drugged back into the ring, but no dice. He puts on the brakes, rolls himself back in. Bobby Eaton from behind with a hard shot to the back. Whips Van to the ropes, misses with the boot to the face, catches the right to the midsection from John Van, counters with a kick to the midsection. Bobby Eaton goes behind on Van again, German release suplex from Bobby Eaton. Eaton charges, whoa! Nicely done Hurricane Rana from beautiful Bobby Eaton. John Van winds up the arm, slams him face first into the canvas. Sylvia Strong looking on, of course. John drives Eaton into the turnbuckle. Tags in Guy Cormier. Here we go. A tag team, double team right here. A whip to the ropes for Eaton. Double shoulders as Guy Cormier takes over for his team. And again, very strategically, working on the arms of Bobby Eaton, same as John Van did. And over time, that is going to wear Eaton down. Cormier also driving a pair of knees into the back of beautiful Bobby Eaton. Goes for the cover and hooks the leg. 1, 2. Well, a fairly early near fall. Now everybody's in the ring. Stan Lane whips Van out to the ropes. Cormier gives him a shot to the back, shows him the door. Bobby Eaton on the outside, the legal man in the ring. Oh, look at this. Guy Cormier was going to go high risk, but changes his mind as Bobby Eaton returns to the ring. A knee to the skull from Guy Cormier. Cormier catching an enziguri from Eaton. Eaton rebounds off the middle rope, a flying elbow to Guy Cormier. They lock up again, kick to the midsection from Guy. A rebound off the ropes, misses with the crossbody. Eaton rounds up Cormier, vertical suplex. Cormier trying to get to a standing position. Eaton right behind him, another German release suplex from beautiful Bobby Eaton. Hard clubbing overhand right to the back of Guy Cormier. Bobby Eaton gathers him up again. Escorts him towards the Midnight Express's corner. Head first into the turnbuckle goes Guy Cormier. Here's a tag. Here comes Sweet Stan Lane for the first time. And here's a double team. Whip to the ropes. Double hip toss to Guy Cormier. Cormier rolls out to the floor. Stan Lane going right out after him. Gets a hold of him. Gets a kick to the midsection for his troubles. Cormier with another kick to the midsection. Sets him up. Has him up for a powerbomb. And Matt drove him right into... not once but twice. Stan Lane driven into the apron by Guy Cormier right at the feet of Sylvia Strong. Followed up with a stomp to the midsection. Cormier gathers up Stan Lane, catches the kick. Stan Lane makes his way back inside the ring. Here comes Guy Cormier right after him. Gets a hold of him from behind. Hard shot to the back. Cormier whips him to the ropes. Hard shot to the midsection. Doubles him over. Stan Lane counters with an elbow. Cormier counters with a kick to the midsection. A misses with the running kick. Stan Lane gets locked up first. Cormier has him all the way up for the vertical suplex, but no. A quick counter into a running bulldog. Stan Lane catches a shot from Guy. A spinning punch. And down goes Stan Lane. I mean, he went out like a clubfish. Here's a cover and a hook of the leg. 1, 2. Another near fall for the original. Guy Cormier unloads with lefts on the head of Stan Lane, followed up with a stomp to the midsection, takes himself out of the equation. Here comes John Van, the Chicago Hammer, on the tag. John Van with a running knee takes Stan Lane down the canvas, turns him over, gets a hold of him, but countered with an enziguri from Lane. Lane turns to Guy Cormier, catches the shot. John Van doesn't exploit the mistake, goes behind. There's a clothesline that takes Stan Lane down again. Lane back up on his feet, but John misses with that move. Catches a cheap shot from Guy Cormier. Stan Lane up over the shoulders of the Chicago Hammer, taken towards the ropes, hung up the top rope by his throat. John Van tags in Guy Cormier. Stan Lane to a standing position on the outside apron. Boom! A shoulder tackle takes him down to the floor. Another takes down Bobby Eaton. Guy Cormier taking care of both members of the Midnight Express. Here comes on out. Goes after Stan Lane. Has him by the hair. Sets it up. Turns him. Stunner. A shoulder right to the head of sweet Stan Lane as the referee begins to count. Kick to the midsection from Stan Lane. Guy Cormier locks him up. Pitches him all the way up the ramp, halfway towards the stage. The referee already counting as Guy Cormier delivers a boot to the face of Stan Lane. Cormier making his way back to the ring. And Stan Lane's going to have to hustle to get back in there. Hung up off the top rope by beautiful Bobby Eaton. Guy Cormier back up on his feet, catches a knee to the midsection from Eaton. Eaton getting away from the corner here as Stan Lane returns to the ring. Guy Cormier with a clothesline takes Lane down hard. Stan Lane trying to make the tag with Guy Cormier in between the two partners, putting a stop to that. Cormier has him. Another clothesline. Stan Lane goes down yet again. Bobby Eaton counters with a cheap shot. Cormier makes him pay with a right hand. Jim Cornette so far not getting directly involved. Here comes John Van as Stan Lane slowly makes his way back to a standing position. Counters with a shot to the midsection of John Van. The Chicago Hammer escorted to the Midnight Express corner, head first into the turnbuckle. Here's a tag to Bobby Eaton. And here comes a double team from the Midnight. Van whipped to the ropes. Back body drop. As beautiful Bobby Eaton takes over for the Midnight. John Van delivers a kick to the head. Locks up Bobby Eaton, a series of kicks right to the chest. Van rounds him up again. Wrist clutch, knee to the head. And down he goes. Guy Cormier brought in on the tag again. And so far, this match has been quite the ride so far. Still no sign of a pin or a submission. Another wrist clutch, knee to the head from Guy Cormier. He steps out. John Van comes back in. They are just playing musical chairs here with beautiful Bobby Eaton stomped to the face from John Van. Van rounds him up. Power bomb. But that ain't enough. Parlays it into a driving knee right into the head of beautiful Bobby Eaton. A series of mounted lefts followed up with a stomp to the midsection from John Van. The Chicago Hammer rounding up Bobby Eaton. Eaton counters with a kick to the midsection, spins John Van around with the right, goes behind. A hard shot to the back. Goes behind again. This time he's got John Van escorting him to the Midnight's corner, head first into the turnbuckle. John Van counters, catches a cheap shot from Stan Lane. A hard shot to the back from Bobby Eaton. Look at this, a quick takedown. And whoa, here's a submission we don't see too often. Whoa, a reverse Boston Crab from beautiful Bobby Eaton. John Van gathered to a standing position here, being escorted back to the opposing team's corner, head first into the turnbuckle once more, and here comes sweet Stan Lane on the tag. Another double team ahead. Van whipped to the ropes once more. Another back body drop as sweet Stan Lane takes over for the Midnight Express. A stomp to the face of John Van from Stan Lane. Lane goes to work on the arm, drives a knee into the arm of John Van. Stan Lane goes for the cover, hooks the leg center ring. One, but Guy Cormier right there to break up the pin almost immediately. Returns to his tag corner. Stan Lane rounds up John Van. Hard right hand takes him down to the canvas. Jim Cornette starting to get a little bit excited here. Shot to the midsection from John Van. As Stan Lane shoves him away, John spins him around with a hard right. Lane counters with an elbow and a running bulldog that takes John Van down to the canvas. Referee Walt Rothburn getting the hell out of the way here. More elbows to the gut from John Van to Stan Lane. They lock up, kick to the midsection from Lane. Lane locks up Van, escorts him towards the Midnight's corner yet again. Will he get there? He certainly does. And here comes Bobby Eaton on the tag. Another double team from the Midnight Express. Off the middle rope, double X handle across the arm of John Van as Bobby Eaton assumes control of this match. Oh no, look at this. Whoa. Oh, underhook backbreaker. Here's a cover. One. But again, Guy Cormier breaking up the pin. Saving the match for his team. Again, the undisputed World Tag Team Championships on the line in this match. John Van locks up Bobby Eaton. Hard whip to the ropes. Van collides with Eaton. Eaton locks up. John Van up over the shoulder. Taken towards the far corner. Deposited headfirst into the turnbuckle. Eaton rounds up John Van again. Locks him up. But Van, again with elbows to the midsection of Bobby Eaton, says, I'm not... Whoa! Running kick took him down hard. John Van doing a little bit of showing off here. As Stan Lane is brought in, John misses with the kick, catches the shot from Stan Lane into a sleeper hold here. This could be a problem. Referee Walt Rothburn checking things out. Guy Cormier right there to break things up. And Lane, I'm not sure what that was about. And Lane takes himself all the way up to the top turnbuckle in the far corner. Here we go, elbow across the back of John Van. The Chicago Hammer struggling to get to a standing position here as Stan Lane showboating for the fans. Lane charges, misses with the clothesline. John Van delivers a boot to the face, pitches him out of the corner, and John Van tags in Guy Cormier. Stan Lane standing center ring waiting for him. Cormier has him up over the shoulders. What are we going to see here? Oh! Just slammed him down. Here's a cover, but Jim Cornette finally interceding here, manipulating the turnbuckle in the far corner. He could have counted to 300 by now. 1, 2, oh, look at this. Stan Lane getting a hold of that bottom rope. Guy Cormier going to have to go from zero again. Cormier with a wrist clutch knee to the head of Stan Lane. And once more, Jim Cornette interceding on behalf of his team. He's starting to see things go south. A kick to the head from Stan Lane. So Guy Cormier turns his attention to John Van. John counters with the right. Momentarily stunned is Stan Lane as Guy Cormier, the legal man in the ring, moves in, catches a hard right. Lane goes behind, rakes the back of Guy Cormier, locks him up, slams him head first into the floor. Lane countered with a leg sweep by Cormier. Cormier gathers him up again. Whoa, look at this. Lane puts on the brakes. And still no good. An enziguri from Guy Cormier turns his attention to Bobby Eaton. A clothesline for Eaton. Both members of the Midnight Express laid out by the Staten Island crippler. Guy Cormier hard overhand right to Lane. Cormier with a shot to the midsection. Winds up the arm and a kick right to the face of Sweet Stan Lane. And this match more than half over and still no sign of a pin or a submission. Cormier rolls himself back inside the ring. Walt Rothburn still counting on Stan Lane, the legal man still on the outside. Cormier breaks the count, starts it all over again, gets a hold of Stan Lane, rolls him back inside the ring. Rolls himself in afterwards. Cormier rounds up Lane again. Oh, here we go, the claw, the brain claw. The originals have won many a match with this one, but look at this. Stan Lane up on his feet, delivers a shot to the midsection, delivers another, backs off Guy Cormier, escapes the submission, delivers the clothesline that takes Cormier down. Here comes Bobby Eaton on the tag. Eaton moves in, locks up Cormier. Cormier locks him up over the shoulders. Little change of plans right there. Discus punch takes Eaton down to the canvas. Cormier tags in John Van. Van moves in. Whoa, both men miss with their move. John Van whips Eaton to the ropes, has him up. Whoa! Hard right hand right to the noggin. Van rounds him up again. Takes him towards the original's corner. Hit first into the turnbuckle. Here's a tag to Guy Cormier again. This team works like a well-oiled machine. Eaton whipped to the ropes, catches double shoulders as Guy Cormier assumes control for his team. Cormier with a series of kicks right to the head of beautiful Bobby Eaton. And he ain't going to stay beautiful for long if that keeps up. Stomp to the midsection from Cormier. Cormier again stepping out and tagging in John Van. Bobby Eaton charges, misses with the rolling kick. John Van gets a hold of him, but an elbow to the face backs him off again. Eaton goes behind Don Van once more, trying to take him to the Midnight Express's corner. Head first into the turnbuckle goes John, and here comes Stan Lane on the tag. Another double team forthcoming from the Midnight Express. Van whipped off the ropes, and a third back body drop in tandem from the Midnight Express. Stan Lane stalking John Van. Whoa, this is not good. Sets up the underhook, has him up, underhook pile driver from Stan Lane. Here's the cover, a hook of the leg, maybe. Oh no, John Van. Saved by Guy Cormier again. As Cormier watches closely, eyeballing Bobby Eaton. Stan Lane with a snap mirror on John Van and a grind of the boot into the face of the Chicago Hammer. Lane rounds him up, discus punch, takes him down again. Stan Lane tags in Bobby Eaton. John Van desperately trying to make it to his team's corner. Succeeds in doing so. Here's a hot tag to Guy Cormier. Cormier moves in, running kick to the face of beautiful Bobby Eaton. Turns him around. Eaton counters with an enziguri. Cormier rolls to the outside momentarily, rolls back in for a quick reset. Gets a hold of Eaton from behind. Quick count, beautiful counter from Bobby Eaton, but an equally good counter from Guy Cormier. Cormier whips Eaton to the ropes. Jim Cornette momentarily distracting Guy Cormier long enough. Here we go, Stan Lane with a side suplex on Guy Cormier. And once again, sweet Stan Lane brought in on the tag. Guy Cormier moves in, catches a series of rights and a kick. Woohoo! Cormier puts on the brakes on that kick. Rebound off the ropes, flying punch to Stan Lane, and down he goes. Cormier covers, hooks the leg. But Bobby Eaton right there to break up the pin and save the match for his team. Stan Lane counters with mounted punches to Guy Cormier. Cormier shoves him away, both boots, gets back up to a standing position, misses with the stomp. Stan Lane charges, misses with the clothesline. Cormier goes behind, quickly countered by Stan Lane. Escorting Cormier to the Midnight Express's corner, head first into the turnbuckles. Here comes Bobby Eaton on the tag. Here comes a double team. Shot to the midsection, right to the gut of Guy Cormier. Bobby Eaton goes behind with a hard shot, whips Cormier to the ropes, back body drop. Beautiful Bobby Eaton swiftly making his way to the top turnbuckle. John Van nowhere in sight right now. Diving headbutt to Guy Cormier. Eaton slammed face first into the canvas by Guy Cormier. The Staten Island Crippler rounds him up. There's the claw again. This could be it right here. Referee checking it out. But look at this, Bobby Eaton back up on his feet, escapes the brain claw of the originals. Whoa! And a head scissor that takes Cormier down, rolls out quickly to the outside, rolls back inside. Clothesline to the back of the head from Bobby Eaton. And here comes Stan Lane again with just about 2 minutes to go here. Cormier goes behind on Stan Lane, slams his head into the turnbuckle. Countered with an elbow. John Van delivers a shot to the back of the head. Cormier opens up with a series of shots, slams down Stan Lane to the canvas. Cormier rounds up Stan Lane. A wrist clutch boot to the face. Down he went. Here's a cover. One, but no good. Bobby Eaton breaking up the pin again. We are rapidly running out of time here. Cormier takes himself all the way up to the top turnbuckle in the far corner. Stan Lane catching a double boot stomp right into the gut. Cormier covers. 1, 2, 3. Bobby Eaton too late as the originals retain the undisputed World Tag Team Championship.
The time of the fall, 18 minutes, 45 seconds, your winners, and still undisputed World Tag Team Champions, the originals.
Ha! These guys love to keep us in suspense, don't they, Dandy Don? With like 1 minute and 15 seconds left, John Van and Guy Cormier retaining the undisputed World Tag Team Championships in pretty spectacular fashion over the Midnight Express.
And so it's been another very impressive evening for Sylvia Strong and her clients, with Gary Galaxy winning his matchup and the Originals retaining the undisputed World Tag titles over the Midnight. I'm sure, Johnny Bianco, there will be something of a celebration between the Stronghold and its members this evening, and you might be part of that package.
And everyone here is invited to join us and Tex for whipping on the sectarians the way you did. Your money is no good tonight. Everything is on me, boss.
Our main event when we return right after the break.
Oh, Mr. Macho Man Randy Savage, this is going to be a bad night for you. I understand. You've ruffled some feathers in the front office. You've made people a little bit upset with your United States Championship and your too short Popeye Scott Bell and your overall bad attitude. Well, you kind of messed up. A couple of weeks ago, I beat you. Fair and square, in the ring. But, here's the problem. You failed to read your contract very carefully. There's a little rematch clause in there. And you know what that means? That means that tonight, that United States title is on the line against me. And you know what else that means? That means that the Macho Man is going down and the Mexican Monolith is going Triple Crown.
And so in our main event tonight, Sylvia Strong and the Mexican Monolith Warlord Santos slip a legal loophole around the neck of Macho Man Randy Savage as he is forced to defend the United States Championship yet again.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's main event, one fall with a 15-minute time limit, is for the RWL United States Championship.
A rematch clause in Santos's contract. Myron, this has got your fingerprints all over it.
Not exactly. I helped. But you know who found it out? It was Rod the Bud Whitley, the guy that Randy Savage screwed to get the U.S. title.
Well, whatever the case might be, this does not bode well at all for Macho Man Randy Savage. The Mexican Monolith Warlord Santos weighs as much as 2 Macho Men.
And he beat the crap out of Randy Savage the last time they met. Oh, man. Myron, you are one sneaky devil.
So what are you all looking at?
Come off it, Myron. We saw how mad you were after Savage won his last match, and you complained you'd have to wait another month before you could book another title match against Savage. You and Whitley, y'all cooked this up together. Geez, you really want to take it out on Macho and Too Short Popeye, huh?
Only God can judge me, Christy. And besides, it was also Rod Whitley. Hey, he wanted to make it a steel cage match.
Yeah, that sounds like Rod Whitley, all right. Well, in any case, the Mexican Monolith Warlord Santos with an opportunity to become a Triple Crown champion all over again. All he's got to do is get the United States title away from Macho Man Randy Savage.
Look at him. That miserable clown shoe and Randy Savage.
All's fair in love and wrestling, I guess. After all, Savage and Scott Bell forced Rod Whitley into the U.S. title match. Seems to me you're just paying the guy back with the same coin. But, and here's the thing, Savage has beaten most of his opponents in recent weeks. Stefan Von Berger, Sergeant Slaughter, both failed at it. Santos is the only one to have picked up a non-title win over Macho Man recently. Savage might very well pull off another upset here, and then you will be waiting a while before arranging his next title defense.
Look, I just hope Santos wins. I'm sick and tired of sitting in my car after every show.
Introducing first the challenger, accompanied by Sylvia Strong from Hidalgo, Mexico, weighing 496 pounds, the RWL Super Heavyweight Champion and the King of Legends Champion, the Mexican Monolith Warlord Santos. and his opponent, accompanied by Scott Bell, from Sarasota, Florida, weighing to 146 pounds, the RWL United States Champion Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Boo! Hiss! Boo! You miserable son of a...
Myron, don't do that.
Myron, I believe in one of the Godfather films, Michael Corleone said to someone, "Don't hate your enemies, it clouds your judgment." I don't care.
Oh, you can forget about that, Don. You ain't gonna change his mind in 100 years.
This match might be controversial at some point in the future, but right now, it's just an exciting main event. Both men ready to go here as Willie Johnson sounds the bell. Both men charge. Whoa! Savage taking Santos down to the canvas. Randy Savage with a quick counter goes behind on Santos. And an inverted DDT slams Santos' head to the mat again. Savage gathers him up one more time. Whoa, Santos shoves him down. Misses with the stomp. A chop across the chest from Savage. A series of shots and kicks and a DDT. And here's a quick cover. One. But barely just a one. As Warlord Santos is clearly far too fresh. A driving knee right into the chest of Santos. Randy Savage going to have to work very hard on this one. Gouging the face of the Mexican Monolith. An elbow to the face from Santos. A clothesline that takes Savage down to the canvas. Savage misses with the elbow. Counters with a kick to the midsection. Takes Santos down to the mat again. The Mexican Monolith in the far corner. Finally to a standing position. Randy Savage driving the head of the Mexican Monolith into the top turnbuckle over and over again. And Santos collapses center ring. Macho Man Randy Savage starting this match out extremely aggressively, driving an elbow into the leg of Santos. Follows it up with a kick to the same leg. Sylvia Strong got to be a little bit concerned here. Randy Savage really fired up. Warlord Santos rounded up again by Macho Man. They lock up. Hard Irish whip to the ropes. And a hip toss from the Macho Man. Randy Savage going right after Santos again. Double axe handle across the back of the Mexican Monolith. Followed up with a stomp to the same area. Santos counters with a kick to the head. Gets back up to a standing position. The Mexican Monolith catches a shot to the midsection from Randy Savage. Savage whips him to the far corner. Whoa! Santos with a quick counter and an elbow to the face, leaving Randy Savage seated in the far corner. Santos bringing him up by his throat. Takes a little walk towards center ring and drives a knee into the back of the Macho Man. Picks him up, takes another couple of steps and does it again. Double backbreaker from the Mexican Monolith. Warlord Santos rounding up Randy Savage. Locks him up. Santos catches a kick to the midsection. The Macho Man going right back to work on a downed Mexican Monolith. Santos counters quickly back up on his feet, locks up the Macho Man, has him up in a front cradle, walks him towards the corner, drives his back into the turnbuckle and spins him out center ring. Warlord Santos stomping the life out of Macho Man Randy Savage. The Mexican Monolith taking a little walk across Macho Man like a welcome mat. Santos with an elbow, a right, another right, a chop across the chest, gets a hold of Savage, walks him towards the ropes. Warlord Santos whips him to the other side. Whoa! A clothesline taking Savage down hard, and here comes Too Short Popeye Scott Bell with his protestations as Randy Savage quickly tries to make his way back to a standing position, goes behind on Santos, sneaking up, drops his head to the canvas. Santos rolls out to the outside. Macho Man quickly taking himself up to the top turnbuckle here. And here we go. Oh! Cross body to the outside. 10 feet up, 10 feet down. Taking the Mexican Monolith to the floor. Savage rounded up. Whoa! Quick counter from Macho Man, followed up by a jab. Santos rolled back inside the ring. And Macho Man Randy Savage very clearly wanting to hang on to that United States Championship. And he's doing everything he can to make it happen. Santos up against the ropes, a hard right from Randy Savage. Savage drapes him between the ropes here, and oh, man, Randy Savage pulling out every trick in the book here. Macho Man takes himself up to the top turnbuckle. Santos tries to stop him, but no use. Elbow across the top of the head. Here's a cover. 1, 2, but no. Santos shoving that left shoulder up for all he's worth. And he is having his share of problems here. Macho Man, extremely aggressive. Savage gathers up. Mexican Monolith, a kick to the chest. Another. And a clothesline. Takes Santos down center ring. Macho Man Randy Savage with all the arrogance in the world here. Charges, drives an elbow into the top of the head of the Mexican Monolith. Santos rounded up. Drives a knee into the midsection of Savage. Spins him around with a hard right. Goes behind. German suplex. Gets a hold of Savage. Whoa! Big time clothesline. Santos covers. Hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. And I do not believe it. Warlord Santos is now a Triple Crown champion once more.
Hell yeah, he did. How do you like me now, Scotty?
The time of the fall, 5 minutes to seconds, your winner, and the new RWL United States champion, Warlord Santos.
Well, Warlord Santos was and is the face of the company when he walked in here, but he is walking out a Triple Crown champion, having relieved Macho Man Randy Savage of the United States Championship. And woohoo! All I got to say is, shut up!
And fans, that concludes tonight's Hotter Than July Supercards. We thank you as always for being with us. Be sure to join us on August 2nd, Saturday night, for the next RWL Snarl from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. For all of us here at RWL, Don Hickson saying thanks. See you next time.